Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty radical idea. What if life isn't some one in a billion miracle, but actually a predictable, almost inevitable outcome of planetary chemistry? And if that's true, could understanding our origin story give us the power to control our own biological destiny? To try and answer that, we're going to look at the work of biochemist Nick Lane and biologist Michael Levin. And we're going to contrast their cutting-edge ideas with some ancient spiritual philosophies. The goal here is to build a much bigger picture of this incredible thing we call life. Some scientists are proposing that life isn't a miraculous exception to the rules at all. Instead, it's an inevitable continuation of geochemistry. Think of it like a waterfall. Life just harnessed the raw energy that was already flowing on our young planet to start building complexity. But what if the spark of life wasn't a chemical reaction? There are other perspectives, rooted in philosophy, that suggest life began when a single, universal, divine state literally transformed itself into the very particles that make up, everything. And what's so fascinating is that modern biologists are now discovering this kind of collective intelligence inside our own cells. It's like a shared software that, funny enough, echoes some of these ancient ideas. A software that guides their journey from a single cell into a complex organism. Okay, so let's really dive into this, starting right at the very beginning. So how did the inanimate world, rocks, water, gas, suddenly spark into life? Well, our sources offer two profoundly different and equally fascinating explanations for how it all got started. Right off the bat, we have two fundamentally different starting points. On one hand, you've got life as this complex electrochemical engine, basically a natural byproduct of planetary physics. And on the other hand, you have life as a direct, almost purposeful manifestation of a cosmic divine force. So the scientific view, and this is championed by researchers like Nick Lane, points way down to these deep-sea alkaline hydrothermal vents. I want you to imagine them as nature's own little batteries. See, these vents create a natural flow of protons. Just think of it as an electrical charge. And that provides a constant stream of energy. When you have that energy, plus the right chemicals just floating around, it made it almost inevitable for the building blocks of life to start forming all on their own. Now, the spiritual texts, they describe a universe born from a single conscious divine state. The idea is that under its own immense pressure, it transformed into what's called formative dust. And here's the key idea. Every single particle that resulted from this event, every paramonu, still contains the very essence of that original divine consciousness. Okay, so once life got started, what instructions does it run on? Now, we all think of DNA, right? But what our sources reveal is that it's way more complex. It's like it's operating on multiple layers all at the same time. Now this is where it gets really, really interesting. This next part breaks down three parallel coding systems that literally shape who and what we are, from our physical bodies to our personalities. So first, you've got epigenetics. Think of these as chemical markers that tell our genes when to turn on and when to turn off. Then there's bioelectricity. Biologist Michael Levin calls this the cognitive glue. It's like an electrical conversation that orchestrates how all of our cells build a body. And finally, you have the philosophical concept of a genetic center. Picture it like a spiritual hard drive that stores the imprints of every single action we take. What's absolutely wild is that all three of these systems have their own way of passing information down through generations, whether that's to new cells or, in the philosophical view, to a whole new life. Okay, so with this complex code in place, how did simple matter start to develop awareness and perception? Well, the next idea maps out a kind of evolutionary ladder, building everything up step by step. So one philosophical text lays out this really clear progression. It starts with one-sense plants, just defined by touch, and then it evolves stage by stage, adding taste, then smell, sight, and hearing. And what's at the very peak of this ladder? Well, it's humanity's unique sixth sense. And no, not seeing ghosts, but the ability to reason, to infer consequences, and to think abstractly. And here is a brilliant modern scientific parallel to that idea. Michael Levin argues that collections of cells, say in a salamander's leg, they function as a collective intelligence. They all share a specific goal, build a leg. And if you damage that leg, they all work together to rebuild it, which shows this amazing kind of problem-solving happening at the tissue level. But this incredible goal-seeking system, it eventually breaks down. So why does that happen? Again, the sources give us two very different perspectives on this whole process of aging. From a biological standpoint, a huge driver of aging is something called cellular senescence.
You can think of these as zombie cells. They stop dividing, but they don't die. Instead, they just hang around, leaking this cocktail of inflammatory signals that damages all the healthy cells nearby and contributes to the diseases of aging.
So, the big question is aging fundamentally a process of accumulating physical damage at the molecular level, this cellular breakdown? Or is it about accumulating negative imprints in our spiritual core, a kind of karmic weight? Philosophically, aging is tied right back to that genetic center. The idea here is that every single action, good or bad, leaves a permanent record, and the negative actions create what are sometimes called karmic imprints. It's like a kind of spiritual static that burdens the soul. And this burden, it's thought, is carried over from past lives and eventually manifests as the physical decline that we experience as aging. So, here's the crucial point. Can we reverse this decline? I mean, humanity has been pursuing this goal, this great reboot, through both science and spirit for millennia. And the proposed solutions really mirror the proposed causes. On one side, you have these cutting-edge technologies that are aimed at literally cleaning out cellular damage and reprogramming our biological software. And on the other side, you've got these ancient practices designed to purify our consciousness and clear out that spiritual static. Science is developing some incredibly powerful tools. We can create what are called iPSCs to generate new, young tissue. There are senolytic drugs being designed to actually hunt down and destroy those zombie cells, and we can activate cellular pathways like AMPK, which is basically a master switch for our body's cleanup and energy regulation, to seriously boost our natural maintenance systems. And for centuries, spiritual traditions have been using these complementary practices. You've got Kaya Kalpa, this ancient art aimed at rejuvenating the body by conserving vital energy. Meditation and introspection are used to purify the mind of all those negative imprints. And even the simple act of observing silence is seen as a way to conserve life force. Now, looking ahead, scientists like Michael Levin envision a truly radical future, one with an anatomical compiler. This is not just about healing. Imagine being able to literally design and then instruct your cells to build any body you desire. You could transcend aging, injury, and our own evolutionary baggage. I mean, this would represent a true freedom of embodiment, a fundamental shift in what it even means to be human. And that brings us to our final question. As we're standing right on the verge of taking control of our own evolution, does the path forward lie in mastering the physical code of our biology, or in understanding the deeper consciousness that may have written it in the first place?